The death of the CEO of the American health insurance company, United Health, didn't shock me. You know what? It elicited... Oh, I'm having a stroke. Thankfully, I'm not covered by United Healthcare, so if I do have a stroke, I'll be fine. Also, I live in Australia. We have free universal healthcare. What was I saying? This is not supposed to be humorous. This is not supposed to be a fun, Christian has a hot, hilarious take. Christian reacts to your universal healthcare denial claims. Oh, that's a funny one. And then she died. I've watched what has transpired over in the States. Okay, can we just take a moment to... disclaimer. I do not glorify murder. I am not someone who advocates for the death of people. But you're going to watch this video, and it's going to sound like I've got my pitchfork out and I'm cheering for the death of billionaire CEOs, of billionaires in general. They should die? No, that's not what I'm saying. This video is about me having an open discussion with you about the fact that I thought I hated violence, but something in my brain happened and I do not feel any sense of sympathy or empathy for the CEO that was gunned down out the front of the Hilton Hotel. Let's get back to Luigi. Does anyone else think he's really good looking? I know. I understand. I'm being a hypocrite because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe people think Ted Bundy is hot. He murdered so many people. He's a serial killer. Don't think he's hot. Did I think Ted Bundy was hot? Actually, I didn't think he was. I didn't find him attractive at all. And maybe that's because he was an awful serial killing murderer. Now, Luigi, on the other hand... I mean, we had the media to blame. The only photos they ever posted were him shirtless or looking sultry and sexy. I've done a vague amount of research about America's healthcare system, and they don't have one. They don't have universal healthcare. Do you know how much it costs to have a baby here in Australia? Have a guess. How much do you think it costs to push a child out your vagina? If you said $0, you would be absolutely correct. To push a baby out your vagina is free here in Australia. And that's thanks to a system we call Medicare. Took me a while to think about that. It's a universal healthcare system, which means healthcare is free to all the citizens of Australia. Now, let's just do some Googling. America does not have a universal healthcare system, which means to push a baby out the vagina costs you anywhere from about $12,000 to, and if you live in New Jersey, so sorry, 30 grand. $30,000? Do you know at one point Australia was paying people to have a baby? You got 2 grand. Not only was it free to push one out, you got paid for the luxury. Wouldn't call childbirth a luxury. So what do Americans do? Because that's something that has always... what do you do then? If you break your arm, what do you do as an American? Well, virtually what we call private health cover here in Australia is what Americans have. They only have private health cover. They've got to pay. They've got to pay someone to have health insurance. And the biggest provider in America is the United Healthcare Group thing. I'm going to try to do my best to explain to you how the healthcare system in Australia works versus the healthcare system in America. Now, universal healthcare basically means everyone is covered. And we have that here in Australia. It's called Medicare. And that means if I... Ow! If I break my hand and go to hospital, I don't pay anything. That is universal healthcare. It's where everyone has access to be able to live. In America, I hate to break it to you, you don't have that. The poor Americans don't have universal healthcare. And we could get into many reasons why, and it's a bit like conspiracy theory. Christian gets his tinfoil hat out. But my ultimate reason as to why such a basic human right is not provided to America is because it's become such a huge business. Pharmaceutical companies make a fucking fortune. Health insurance companies are some of the highest earning companies in America. The CEO that got shot was the big boss of a place called United Healthcare Group Insurance Companies, RUS.com. It's the 3rd largest company in America. Number 1 is Amazon. Number 2 is Walmart. Number 3 is the United Healthcare Group. They make upwards of $350 billion a year off of not paying out insurance claims. Well, that's where their money comes from, right? That's how they earn their money. You pay them to be insured. Oh, I hope I don't break my arm. And then if you break your arm, you go, hey, United Healthcare, I would like you to pay for it. So that's what happens in America. In Australia, ow, I broke my arm. The government just subsidises it, pays for it. You get to see specialists, and sure, there are a few out-of-pocket costs, but the majority of it is covered. Now you think, well, why would someone shoot the CEO? It's not the CEO's fault. Well, hang on a minute here, because it kind of is. He is running a company that profits off of the suffering and death of the American citizens. Here's the whole weird part about the whole thing is I hold no animosity toward what Luigi did, because ultimately I believe that the CEO, who I want to call Brian, I don't want to compare him to certain world leaders, but in my view, the buck stops with Brian. He is running a company that is denying medical life-saving surgeries to clients, to paying customers. Health insurance companies, on average, in America, will deny about 17% of all the claims that come through. The United Healthcare, they deny 32%, twice that. And why? Why? So the first bullet is deny. You deny a claim. Now, whether or not the claim is valid, half the time doesn't even matter. They'll just deny it in the hopes that you go away. You just accept that denial. Delay was the next bullet. So delay basically means they're trying to delay as much of your time as possible, again, in the hopes that you give up. And also, they just want to hold on to your money for as long as possible. And then if you still persist in wanting your medical bills to be covered, they defend their decision to deny you those claims. They will take you to basically like a tribunal. And most people, they don't have the money to pay for that. So they just go, oh, well. I did hear a really fascinating point, and this really only applies to anyone who's in America that's covered by any health insurance, is when you know that you are absolutely entitled to this claim and you have to defend it, more often than not, when you submit that appeal, the health insurance knows that they're doing something dodgy and then they just pay for it. But a lot of people won't submit to defend that decision, and so they lose out. They don't have the surgeries that they need, and ultimately they go on and they die. And so to me, in my brain, I go, Brian is responsible for these people's deaths because he's running a company that refuses to pay out for life-saving medications and surgeries. Hundreds of thousands of Americans every year are denied their claims. They can't afford it. My TikTok is flooded with people voicing things about claims that they've been denied. One was a nurse, and she said she was on the phone with a patient's health insurance company, and that was United Healthcare. And she needed, I'm pretty sure it was a kidney transplant. And on the phone, the person said, do you think the patient is going to live longer than 5 years if the transplant goes ahead? Which is a disgusting question to ask because we all know what that means. Even the nurse was like, well, I said yes, obviously, because if I said no, they would have denied this patient's claim to get a kidney transplant. Oh, we don't need to pay for something if they're not going to live. Oh, horrible. They're ruthless. I've gone on to Reddit and I've read so many. This one says, shout out to United Healthcare for attempting to fully deny my 4-week-long stay in the hospital after I broke 2 hips, my foot, ankle, and both wrists in a car accident. They had their expert doctors. So the United Healthcare have doctors that work for them that look over claims, and the doctors looked at my case and determined that after 24 hours of being in a hospital, I didn't need to be there anymore. Therefore, they were not going to cover anything post that 24-hour hospital stay. We went back and forth for months over a $40,000 bill. That's fucking disgusting. Oh, you've just had a car accident? Well, we'll cover you for 24 hours. Because our doctors, of which we employ, have told us you could probably run a marathon tomorrow. Denied. Denying chemotherapy to patients because their expert doctors have said it's not even going to work. You're going to die anyway, so we're not going to pay for it because the outcome's actually going to be death regardless. That's not what your customers are paying for. They're paying for you to pay for their health. It's so disgusting. In America, you have allowed, even here in Australia, we have allowed people to become so wealthy that they are in control of countries. Like, do you think anything's going to change? It's not going to change. I get so frustrated at the wealthy fucking cunts who just take everything. What's going to happen though? What do we think is going to happen? Luigi will probably get thrown into prison for life for killing someone who I believe has indirectly killed quite possibly millions of people through denying the basic care. CEOs should not be earning hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Healthcare shouldn't be a for-profit business in any part of the world. Even here, it just shouldn't. There are things that just shouldn't be for profit. Education, healthcare, roads, plumbing, electricity. That should be provided in the taxes, in the fucking exorbitant taxes we pay. And everyone said, oh, this is a turning point. Oh, the classes, we're revolting. Oh, we're going to stand up and say what? No, we're not. I mean, we are. We can voice our concerns, but we've built a system that it's not... We're in so fucking deep. And I shouldn't say we. Australia's not as horrific as America. It's getting there. But you look at America and it's there is no possible way to get out of the wormhole that has been created. There is just no possible way. It's not going to happen. And sadly, it got to a point where I saw the killing of a CEO of a human being. I saw a human being get murdered and I held no sympathy. And that's when I felt, whoa, fuck. Shit's bad because I'm a sympath. I don't like anyone. I even sometimes sympathize with murderers only because they've had such fucked childhoods. And I feel so bad for the system that they grew up in that turned them into these disgusting human beings. And then you look at what Luigi did. And he'll probably go to prison for God knows how long. 25 years to life? Because they'll need to make an example out of him so that everyone doesn't go around killing the elite. And that's just basically saying that life has a value. This person's life is a lot less than this person's life. Aren't we all, under the American Constitution, considered equal? That's a conundrum to leave you with. It's fucked. The whole thing is fucked. And this is why I haven't had any sleep. Because I sit lying awake being like, well, what's next? What's going to happen? And we watch, here in Australia, we watch America so closely because we know inevitably we could turn into that very easily.